Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 2 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. Now we've got news out of Jacksonville where a crisis team is now at a Jacksonville elementary school after their student resource officer was killed in a shooting. Sources told WITN that Officer Philip Chiorino was killed in the officer-involved shooting that happened Tuesday afternoon near Tarawa Terrace Elementary School on the base. NCIS and Jacksonville police have yet to release any details of how the shooting happened. Online records say the 31-year-old Chiorino lived on Tarawa Terrace, a couple of blocks from the school, and one source says his wife is an active duty Marine. According to a social media post from the police department, Chiorino joined the Jacksonville police in August of 2024. Sources say he was a former Marine firearms instructor who served a couple tours in Afghanistan. Chiorino was the school resource officer at Jacksonville Commons Elementary School. A school district spokesman says its crisis team is at the school today. Brent Anderson said, quote, "We are saddened by this loss, but our focus is on giving our students and staff the privacy and support they need during this incredibly difficult time," end quote. Now, earlier today, Jacksonville police said they would release more information later today. Now, we also want to turn our attention to Denmark, where a group of bipartisan senators from the U.S. is visiting Denmark officials to help calm them after President Trump's threat to again seize Greenland. Now, President Trump has said that Greenland is vital to U.S. security because of its strategic location and large supply of minerals, and has not ruled out the use of force to take it. European nations this week sent small numbers of military personnel to the island at Denmark's request. The 11-member U.S. delegation, led by Democratic Senator Chris Coons, met Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and her Greenlandic counterpart Jens Frederik Nielsen, according to Frederiksen's office. Now, Trump's special envoy to Greenland, Jeff Landry, said he planned to visit the Danish territory in March and that he believed a deal could be done. New Hampshire Senator Jeanne Shaheen, a Democrat on the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said recent rhetoric about the U.S. taking over Greenland undermined NATO and played into the hands of its main adversaries, Russia and China. The delegation includes Republican Senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, while the rest were Democratic lawmakers. Demonstrations were scheduled to take place in the Danish cities and the Greenlandic capital, Nuuk, on Saturday in support of Greenland. The congressional visit follows a high-stakes meeting at the White House on Wednesday, where Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen and Greenlandic Foreign Minister Vivian Motzfeldt met Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance. And now for a look at your weather forecast. I know a lot of attention of obviously being paid to this Sunday's forecast, but if you're hoping for snow, unfortunately our chances continue to diminish as the cold front that's expected to give us the cold air that's required to turn rain into snow, is slowing down. May not get here in time to turn all of the drops into flakes. Right now, air temperatures, really aren't going to have too much of an impact of what we see on Sunday. But right now, walking out your door, you're looking at the generally low to mid 40s. We do have 47 degrees being reported through Jacksonville along with Stumpy Point. The rest of eastern North Carolina, a touch cooler by about maybe 2-3 degrees or so. But again, today's temperatures don't have a huge impact on what we're going to see on Sunday, mostly because coming up tomorrow, we're going to be into the low 60s by the afternoon. Talk about an eastern North Carolina forecast going from the low 60s one day to talking about a potential for snow the next. Yeah, that's eastern North Carolina weather for you. Right now, we've got winds blowing out of the southwest at about 7 to 15 miles per hour. Those winds will help keep us from losing too much heat overnight tonight. But when compared to where we were yesterday, temperature-wise at this time, most of us are kind of sitting in the same area, the same general region, at least in terms of temps. Only seeing about a 5-degree difference, plus or minus, with 5 degrees warmer in Roanoke Rapids, 5 degrees cooler in Beaufort, along with Hatteras. As far as this evening, we're looking again at air temperatures holding in the low 30s, but not really reaching below freezing, at least not far below freezing. Here's a look at what we've got tomorrow morning. 32 degrees turns to 35 by 9 a.m., 41 degrees, and we're at 53 by 11. Noon temp, 57 degrees. Going to feel quite nice out there with the southwesterly winds that will carry us into the low 60s in the afternoon. It'll be a pretty nice day on Saturday. But it's not Saturday. I know a lot of you are here to talk about. It's, of course, what we are going to see on Sunday. So before we get fully into this, I want to kind of break it down and kind of give everybody an idea of what we are actually watching right here. This is a look at your future wind forecast. We look at this to determine when the cold front is going to pass over eastern North Carolina. The faster it happens, the faster that cold air gets into the east, and the faster our air temperatures drop down below freezing. That has to happen if we're going to see any sort of accumulations on roads or, concrete surfaces. At this point, Sunday morning, look at it generally more of a west to northwesterly breeze across the east. Notice most of those arrows, again, coming in generally out of the west and northwest. We're going to need, again, a shift to the north-northwest in order to determine that cold front has passed. So let's fast forward this to 9 o'clock. And at this point, you're seeing Goldsboro as well as Rocky Mount showing up with more of a northwesterly or north-northwesterly wind, while the rest of eastern North Carolina is still more of a westerly component to it. So at this point, Rocky Mount as well as Goldsboro, so we've got Nash and Wayne counties, most likely Wilson County, and possibly even Edgecombe County by this point, seeing that cold front pass overhead. So those areas by 9 o'clock will start to see those air temperatures plateau and then slowly start to come down as we head through the day. The rest of eastern North Carolina will be warming at this time, getting into the mid to upper 30s. But by the time we reach noon, that's when the whole front is going to be moving off the coast. This is when we start to truly cool down. Earlier in the week, we were talking about this cold front being off the coast by the time we made it to 9 a.m. So losing out, I know it doesn't sound like much, but losing out on 3 hours of cooling will have an impact on your snowfall forecast that's going to be coming in later Sunday afternoon to Sunday evening, because it's going to keep air temperatures just a little bit too warm to turn all of the moisture in the atmosphere from rain into snow. So that's kind of a basic rundown of what we are seeing and why we're not forecasting, again, inches of snow across eastern North Carolina, because of the slowdown of that cold front. Let's take you through exactly what we are looking at. It's that front you're seeing back towards Kentucky, Tennessee. A mountain's going to chew up a lot of the moisture with that frontal boundary, but we will see some rain out of that system coming in Saturday night into Sunday morning. And from there, you see it kind of dries out a bit. But once that cold front really reaches the Atlantic, more moisture is going to get drawn up because it's going to be making contact with a warmer ocean. And that's going to lead to a little bit more rain coming out of the system. At this point, though, 9 a.m., that front is not completely off the coast. So that cold air will not be into eastern North Carolina by the time we get to 9 a.m. It'll be through parts of the east, but not everywhere. And again, it's going to be, you got to think of it like a plateau. When you're talking about air temperatures, you rise up through the morning, then that cold front rolls in, and then you start to just level off. And then that cold air continues to flow in, and that's what gradually brings those air temperatures down. So it's not like you turn on a light, flip a switch, and all of a sudden you've got cold air in eastern North Carolina. It takes some time to knock those temperatures down from above freezing, will likely be in the mid to upper 30s for Sunday, down below 32 degrees. So for most of the day, we're looking at more of a rain event with some flakes kind of mixing in through your Sunday afternoon to Sunday evening. By Sunday evening, we may see some inland areas, particularly areas, I would say, certainly north of 264, possibly seeing more of a complete switch over to snowflakes, but the ground is still going to be wet. Ground temperatures still above freezing, and that's going to make it even more difficult to get anything to stick to, again, roads and concrete surfaces. Grassy surfaces could certainly see some accumulations. Not much, certainly nothing that's really going to impact driving, but it could be obviously fun for the kids. And make a little snow cream, and who knows, if you don't mind them getting a little muddy, maybe going down a small hill on a sled. I know I'm going to be keeping our sleds in the attic in the Ironmonger household. I don't want to have to deal with all the mud that comes from trying to sled on half an inch of snow. But for now, this is kind of a look at what we've got by 4 p.m. Models again highlighting the fact that air temperatures are going to be too warm at ground level to support snowfall coming down. Now, will we see some flakes? Yes. Will it amount to a big whiteout type of scenario? No. Do you need bread and milk? Only if right now in your refrigerator you have no milk and no bread. Otherwise, don't worry about going out to the store for a whole bunch of bread and milk. You're not going to need it for this system. But the danger with this system is not so much going to be the snowfall aspect, but once we get past 7 a.m., again, that cold air is going to continue to flow into eastern North Carolina. So after we get quite a bit of rain in the area on Sunday, then we get air temperatures that are going to be dropping down into the low 20s overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. What does that mean for drivers? Slick conditions. Any roads, again, that even if the roads get treated, you got to remember that we're looking at more of a rain event. So brine on the roads is going to get washed away by the rain. So we could certainly see some icy spots on the roads coming up early Monday morning. I do know it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but people still have to go to work. At least some people still have to go to work. I'm raising my hand. I am one of those people who will be at work on Monday who have to contend with those icy conditions. If that is you, or you know someone, again, who leaves early in the day to head to work and they do have to work on Monday, make sure they're aware that they should leave early on in the morning and drive slow. Drive slow. If you can, try to stay on more primary roads. I think, at least I'm hoping that the DOT pays more attention again to those primary roads or areas where they know usually end up with slick spots, areas around bridges specifically, to treat those roads as we head into Monday morning. For now, 47 degrees should be high enough to melt away anything that's left over on grassy surfaces on Monday. Overnight lows again dropping down to frigid levels coming up for Monday night as well as Tuesday night. After that, we will warm back up to more of an average temperature profile for really, I would say, Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. Normal this time of year is right around the mid to upper 50s. Thursday is on the cusp there, but into the mid 50s by Friday and Saturday. Of course, during that time period, we're looking at a little bit more rain returning to the forecast. And I do want to say good afternoon to Amanda Bloom. Thank you so much for joining me over on Facebook. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free, join us over on Facebook. You can head over to the comment section. I do keep an eye on that as we are broadcasting these live hits. And if you've got any sort of questions about the forecast, I'm here and I'm happy to answer them for you. But for now, that's all we have time for. We'll be back to answer some of those questions coming up at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock right here on the First Alert Desk. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Friday. We'll see you back here coming up in just under an hour.